comprehensive theology going from in the Bible. Paul really put out all the stops on this one. We're going to be examining a lot of the controversies over Romans because there's lots of them, and they're new and they're powerful. And I want to prepare you for these controversies. So we're going to just address one controversy today regarding Romans 1. Okay? This is a major controversy, very recent controversy. It's become much bigger over the past year or 2 years. The controversy is whether or not God is evident to all. And as we say here, yeah, God is evident to all. Because verse 19 claims he's evident to all, right? That's what it says. He's evident to all. Yet, the new and improved atheists say he's not. Okay. They say he's not, but they actually mean he's not evident to all. And we're gonna show you some movie, a bit of movie today regarding the controversy. You get some of the most prominent atheists in the world have been challenging a local boy. Okay, Seiton Brugengate is from Dorchester. He's been taking on the most prominent atheists in the world. He's over the past few years, he's been quite renowned in what he's been doing. He's been doing a marvelous job. There's quite a few folks in this church that know him. He's a friend of mine, met him on several occasions, had a lot of correspondence with him. Of course, you want to Facebook him, follow him, go for it. He's an exciting guy. So, he's involved in this big controversy, whether or not God is evident to all or not. And so, he's basically jumped on the bandwagon that was set by Van Til, 50 years ago anyways. A guy named Van Til, who was a leading thinker in the last century. Brilliant man. Possibly the most brilliant philosopher of the previous century. Van Til, believe it or not. Him and Planting are among the top philosophers back then. So he's jumped on Van Til's bandwagon in promoting this cause that God is evident to all, right? However, he's sort of taken the Bahnsen route. Bahnsen was one of Van Til's students, so he's following Bahnsen's route. He hasn't read much of Van Til. He's more studied on Bahnsen, whereas I'm more studied on Van Til. And so he's gone around having debates with numerous atheists, Canadians in Canada, in America, in England. He's been prominent, making a big splash. Very, very prominent there. Doing a wonderful job, and we're going to be watching some of his How to Answer a Fool video. We're going to be watching the final 10 minutes or so of it, which I find to be the most enlightened, profound, helpful part. He also has a workbook for some people who want to do studies. There is a place called, an organization called American Vision in the States that's been following around for a while, compiling all his videos, and they thought, this is really good, let's make a DVD. So we're going to see a bit of the DVD, and they also made a study guide as well for him. Now, Sai, this is a bit of a paradox too, how to prove that there is a God, because Sai recognizes himself that no proof for God is actually necessary. Of course, his intention with these debates, with these arguments, is to get people to recognize, okay, that they are really deceiving themselves, okay? They're really deluding themselves. And to finally get them to repent of their delusions, right? Not only to repent of their delusion, but to repent of their sin, primarily. Although he doesn't go that far very often. He's usually stuck in trying to prove God rather than telling them what to repent of. These people already know what they're supposed to repent of anyways. For one, repent of their hostility to God, right? Now, he tries to present, Sai's method is he presents a logical argument, logical reason for the existence of God. He's using words to prove the existence of the Word, okay? The Logos, God. And his argument says, since there is a creator of logic, therefore, for logic to exist, there must be a creator of logic. There's a couple other arguments that he goes with as well, but it's pretty much along that line. And this is where the atheists say, look, this is not a very big argument, okay? This is really too small of an argument for us to expand on. And they criticize him for this. This is just too small of an argument. You're not giving us any room to criticize you on. And they're right. They're right for the most part. Sai has it's a small argument. It's a biblical argument. And I think it's too small of an argument, okay? They claim, well, your argument is just too circular. And once Sai finally tells them, yes, but all arguments are circular. And once they finally recognize that, well, yeah, I guess you're right there, Sai, but your circle is just too small, okay? It's too small for us to fit our unbelief inside, okay? And we want to stick our unbelief inside a little bit. And can you give us a little breathing room, a little neutral ground that we can fight out of? Incisive. Okay. And I think there is a bigger circle that Sai could probably open up to. Traditionally, Christians have had bigger arguments, much bigger arguments. From 1,000 years ago, easy. There have been many, many arguments, classical arguments for the existence of God, arguments that Sai holds contempt for, because they grant the unbeliever a little measure of arguing room, okay? Whereas Sai's argument gives no room for argument, leaves no room for argument whatsoever. And you can see some of his, on his website, you'll see some of his arguments. It's really a hoot to go through his website and click on the various boxes and follow the reasoning. His boxes have changed a little over the past year or so. Not too much. I think they were better a year ago, but he's revised them a little bit to make things a little more clear. I think I liked them better before. But he's also criticized by Christian scholars, okay? Once again, by Christian scholars for not having a big enough argument, for not allowing the classic arguments, because there are more arguments that can be used against the atheists to prove that God is evident to all. Okay. Unfortunately, Sai doesn't like that, and he says, well, no, you're granting the unbeliever way too much room. You're allowing him to criticize your God. You're granting him neutral ground, and you're sinning by arguing with their unbelief. And that's where I take issue with Sai. And Sai knows that. Sai and I have a disagreement about that. I don't believe people are sinning when they use other methods to prove the existence of God. I'm not even opposed to the Mormon method, which the Mormon method says they have a burning in their bosom that this is true. Okay? I'm not entirely opposed to that, because there is some element of truth to that in Christianity as well. Yet, Sai wants to rely on the burning in the brain, the logical argument. Okay? And I say, no, it could be bigger than that. We can go bigger than that. Right? And I address that. Jonathan, could you scroll up a little bit? Oh, okay, you did. Okay. Could you scroll up a little bit? Oh, I guess everybody's got the handout anyway, so you can follow the handout as well. So it's a lot of. I contend that you do not have to argue from absolute truth or from universal truth or from logic to God. That there are other arguments that you can use. Okay, and atheists don't want a logical argument anyway. They're not interested in logical arguments. They really aren't. They just want to be hostile. They really are. There's a book that came out recently that was published by Denver Seminary. You can see the link I have there, the website you can see there, where that pretty much verified that even atheists agree. Look, I'm not interested in your logical arguments. It doesn't make any difference to me. I'm not convinced by logic either. Okay? And in essence, this is what I said in our last devotion on James 5. Atheists really don't want an argument. They just want to continue in their sin. Okay? And there's been a lot of proof evidenced in that book that I referenced there as well. But let's look at verse 20 of that chapter, first chapter. Here, the Apostle Paul insists that God argues for himself. We don't have to argue. God argues for himself. From creation and intuition. What's that mean? What does that mean? Yep, it means no natural logic is required. And no reminders are required either. Although they're still good. It's good that you use reminders. It's not required, okay? And the previous verse, verse 19, says that this knowledge of him is firmly implanted in them. Atheists. It's implanted in atheists, even from their creation, even from their birth, so that it may be clearly seen. Clearly seen. Well, what about blind people? Yes, blind people can clearly see it too. It's not just by looking at trees and flowers that they can see it. There's something far beyond just seeing creation. Something else has been implanted in man. At birth? No, at conception. And what is that? What has that been? Well, historically, it's been thought that what's been implanted in man is something called a sensus divinitas, which means a divine sense. It's like the Spirit breathed into you as soon as you were conceived. So there's no excuse. No excuse whatsoever. Now, some translations waffle about whether or not this is actually breathed in man, or whether it's just sort of breathed around man, and he just sort of sees this, and oh yeah, it must be a God, because look how complex this is, and that is. And no, traditionally, people have said, no, this was something inside of man, not something outside of man. The old translations, King James Version, American Standard Version, they say in man, something in man, okay? The newer versions, they kind of waffle a bit. ESV, the NIV, they waffle a bit, okay? Basically, because they refer to the standard lexicon, which is Brown, Driver, Arndrich, Gigs, okay? It's the standard lexicon that these translations use, which refers to all the previous Greek literature and how that certain word was used in a certain sense and how it was probably used in this sense. Okay? So they say, well, maybe it not necessarily means in, but it could be around, all right? Or the lexicon says, well, in connection with, which is kind of waffling a bit. I think that's kind of sad. I would go with the King James Version there. There's other reasons why I would go there. I think it's because this is talking about something very personal and very intense. This is not sappy language that Paul is using. Okay, this is a plain word in. Okay. The Greek word is in. Sure, it can mean by or with, but the Greek word says en, and it's often translated in, and I think it should be translated in. And I think that's the plain sense of in. I think that's the plain sense. And if you're looking at that lexicon again, you'll see that sandwiched between in is the word plain and plain. And you think, okay, why wouldn't you put a plain in instead of between the words plain and plain? It makes plain sense to me. And I think waffling on that word compromises history, something that was historically understood, and it compromises that, in fact, God is evident to all. That God suddenly occurs to all when they reach maturity or something stupid like that, right? No, it's beyond that. God is evident to all, so that man is without excuse. Okay. So, it's my contention that even babies and blind people, they know that there is a God, even from birth, even from conception. That there's an innate sense there that they know there is a God. And there's no logical perception required. None whatsoever. Do babies know syllogisms? A, therefore B, therefore C? No. It doesn't follow for babies. Even babies are guilty. Okay. Now, even babies recognize that this is a gift. Okay? This life is a gift. And this gift comes from somewhere other than their mother. Because there is something outside of their mother. All right? They recognize there's something beyond. Way beyond. And then after you are born, you start digressing. You start straying right away. Everybody strays right away. You start digressing away from God. Okay? Except Jesus. Jesus was the only one that didn't stray. Oh, and of course Mary too, if you're Roman Catholic. Mary was sinless. Not. So, you can read the rest of this, but you'll see that when you grow up, you recognize more and more that you are straying from the truth, you're straying from your Creator. And you have a decision to make, whether to choose your Creator or to choose yourself. And those that choose themselves do so at their own expense. And then God will give them over to themselves. He will give them over to ungodliness. And this is where he gives a really long list of all these this process of ungodliness, all these ungodly acts, which fills numerous verses, okay? So, finally, we are encouraged here, do not follow ungodliness. Don't be given over. Okay? And so we'll watch this video then. Final 10 minutes of this video. It's a great video. And what happened here is Cy had just finished debating the president of the American Atheist Society. And now he's backstage, okay? Cy is backstage, and he's conversing with the moderator of the debate. The moderator of the debate who claimed that he was a Christian moderating the debate. And we'll see how that one is. It's pretty fascinating. Could you roll that, please, John? Thank you.